Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Jared Glenn. I am back with another episode of Young Hustlers. It's been a while since we've released a new podcast episode on the Young Hustler Show here. So I'm so excited to be back here, Young Hustlers Cardone Zone, and ready to share with you guys some of the experiences that I've had along the 10 years that I've worked with Grant. The purpose of the show is to basically take hey, turn your mic off, Francisco, is to take the information that I've been able to learn working with Grant over the last 10 years, whether it's business or marketing or sales or money or whatever, and share it with you guys so that you can get where you want to go faster. I wanted to talk about something very interesting today. This is probably going to be a hot topic for a lot of people, but it's definitely one of the most common questions that I get. It's, when do I start investing? Okay, if you have questions on this, I want you to call the show 305-865-8668. It's 305-865-8668 because we take live callers on this show. That's what we do. And, so like I want to talk about this investing thing because there's a lot of wild stuff happening right now. There's the Dogecoin, there's the AMC, there's the GameStop, there's all this crypto stuff happening. Like, dude, there's a lot of places that you can throw your money. And it's so easy, if you want to do big things and you want to make some money, it's so easy to get sucked into these things. And it's so dangerous. And let me tell you why. Most people invest way before they're ready. They invest they're so premature on the investment line. And I'll tell you why. It's because they haven't done the things they need in order to actually start generating income. And like, you got to understand that income is probably the most, it is. Income is the most powerful investment tool that you have. Like, your wealth is your income is the rocket fuel that you'll build your wealth on. And I know, like, when I started working with Grant 10 years ago, and I was making $2,500 a month, and I got 10 grand in the bank, I too got sucked into this, like enchanted in this, like, oh, maybe, I can go buy this penny stock here and it's trading for 10 cents and then it goes up to 20 cents and I'll double my money. Like, it's still only 10 grand, right? Like, a lot of people trying to get in right now, they're like, oh, I'm going to put 5 grand in AMC. Dude, you double it, it's still only 10 grand. Now, I know that may sound like a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of things, what's happening is, like, you're literally putting your bet on black on a roulette wheel. AMC pulled back today. A lot of people didn't get out. They've lost the gains that they had. And I know that this is probably be a little dated by the time some of you are listening to this, but, like, the short-term plays never, ever win. Like, even if you had 50 grand in cash to invest and you put it all in GameStop or whatever, and you went from 50 grand to 150 grand, you still haven't addressed the core issue that will determine how much wealth you're able to generate for years and years to come. And that's your ability to create income. So what I would challenge everybody to do, if you're making less than 100 grand a year, stop looking at crypto. Stop looking at AMC, stop looking at GameStop, stop looking at BlackBerry, stop looking at all these wild things that are happening that are, this is a moment in time right now. Like, if you're good gambling with the money that you have, then that's exactly how you should view what's happening right now, is gambling. Because that's all it really is. There's no fundamental long-term, there's no fundamentals of these businesses that would dictate them trading at the values that they are right now. Like, it's completely, it's fantasy land. It's gambling, okay? But if you want to make money, if you want to make real money, I'm going to tell you guys the exact model that you should follow. It's the same thing that I followed in my life. I'm not telling you anything up here I hadn't done myself already. I'm just telling you what worked for me. Today I'm in a position where my real estate apartments that I own probably worth $10 million. I have a multiple 7-figure annual income, and it's because I didn't get distracted in the beginning. Because what happens is, if you have 15 grand to your name and you bet it and you lose it, dude, you're back to zero. And you still haven't fixed your income problem. And so what happens is now you got to go spend another 6 months or 8 months or a year or whatever it takes to save up another 15 grand. And you just kick the ball down the field on how long it's going to take for you to start making money. Oh, not to mention the fact that when you buy and you sell in a short period of time, you pay half in taxes. A lot of you aren't factoring that tax bill. You go out, you spend all the money, and then at the end of the year, Uncle Sam's going to be like, yeah, that 25 grand, where's it at? We want our piece. So I'm going to just break down with you exactly what I did to get on track to where I'm at today. And this is a plan. If you want to get mega wealthy, this is a plan that Grant was like, dude, if you follow this plan, you will get rich. Not rich quick, rich for sure. So a lot of the information that you hear right now, it falls into that get rich quick. It falls into that like, hey, how do I double my money in 2 months or 3 months or 4 months? That is get rich quick. You know, when you look at, hey, how do I put myself in a position where over the next, 10 years ago, I was freaking broke. I was in debt. I was 40 grand in debt. So when I say 10 years, for a lot of you, you're like, oh my gosh, that sounds like forever. For some of you, if you're 40, you're like, oh man, 10 years. If I could get to 10 million in 10 years, I'd be in good shape. So this is exactly what the roadmap that I followed. It was 3 steps, okay? Number 1, and this is the one that people have a really hard time doing, right? This is the hardest one to do, but it's the one that feeds everything else that will happen. The very first thing that you should invest in is you. What does that mean? You, your skill sets, your capabilities, your ability to go out and do things that generate revenue, whether it's you're a video person and you shoot film, whether you're a designer and you make graphics, whether you're a salesperson and you slang deals. Like, the first thing you need to do is invest in developing your skills. And Grant always says, an investment requires time and money. That constitutes an investment. So if you're not investing time and money in you, then you will never initiate this whole cycle that I'm about to say. There has to be this first thing that happens so that you can go out. For example, I start to work for Grant. I think I know how to sell, I know how to talk to people, but I don't know nothing. I don't know nothing about getting rich. I just know what I've done naturally as part of my personality. There really was no skill set behind it. It was just ability. Natural ability, I guess you could call it. The ability to talk to people, right? So what I started doing is I started investing in myself, right? So I started investing time in training programs. I started investing money in training programs, time into actually consuming those training programs. For the first 2 years that I worked for Grant, an hour on the way home from work, probably 20 minutes on the way to work, all throughout the day. When I'd get home at night, I literally had earbuds. This was back when they had the cable on them, They didn't have the cool things that they do now. Dude, I'd fall asleep with Grant's programs playing in my head because I'm trying to brainwash myself with everything that this guy knows about sales and money and success and business and going out and making money. So I was consuming everything. I was reading books. I'd go out and spend $1,000 a year on books and load up a library. I was investing time and money in the things to further develop myself. Because what happened is once I started investing in myself, I started producing more. See, where a lot of people fail is, number 1, they don't invest in themselves. That's the first mistake. But number 2, they don't continue to invest in themselves until they see an increase in their production, an increase in their income, an increase in their confidence, increases in their levels of motivation and engagement. You don't do it enough to get the result that it's supposed to do. So you're like, oh yeah, I bought that program, I read it once, and it didn't make me any money. And then you quit. Or you buy it and you never finish it. Or you buy it and you never even use it. For me, maybe you're different than I am, but like Forrest Gump said, I'm not a smart man. I ain't that smart, but I'm smart enough to know that if I want to learn something, dude, I got to go through it a number of times. I got to read a book 3 or 4 times before I actually get it. I got to watch a training video 3 or 4 times before I start actually understanding it. I got a lot of stuff bouncing around in my head, so I'm like, it's hard for me to focus. So like I got to go through it a number of times. So I'm like, okay, I picked this piece up first time, that one, second time, third time. Okay, now I think I'm starting to actually get it. But again, that requires time, a time commitment to go in and go through and watch those over and over and over again so that I could develop an understanding of what's actually happening. A lot of people don't have the patience or the discipline to do that, okay? But like, if you want to get rich, you've got to know that like people have done this before. A lot of people have tried to create shortcuts, gambling with stock and things like that. Sure, some people have gotten really wealthy doing that. And some people, dude, they fall into luck. They just fall into luck. Like they put 20 grand into something and then it doubles, and then they put 40 grand into something and it doubles again. Now they're at 80,000 and like they just don't lose. And then they have this like 5-team parlay and then it hits, and then they freaking they make 250 grand, and now they're like, I got 250 grand, I can go start a business, start making money. Dude, but that doesn't happen for 99.999% of people. Like, you got to understand, like, there is a way that the majority of people who have money, which is actually a very small number of people, there's a way that they do it. And it starts with this. Number one, they invest in themselves. Some of them went to colleges, 4-year colleges. Some went back, got master's degrees. Others became students of like entrepreneurship and building a business. So they're out working, and that's how they're learning and developing their skills. That's how they're investing in themselves. They're taking lower paying jobs that give them more responsibility rather than trying to make another 10 grand a year. They're like, no. I know I have access to more things here that I can get my hands on than I will at that next thing. And long term, that'll be worth more than the extra 10 grand. Think about that for a little bit. Like some of y'all are thinking, oh man, I got to go jump out and go try a new thing and go work at a different company and quit this job or start this company or quit this thing and go do that thing. And you haven't even looked at what's in front of you to go, okay, I could go make 10 grand a year more or 20 grand a year more, but what am I learning? What do I have access to? What risk is there associated with that? So like, you have to be really aware of like what your outcome is and what you have in front of you. And a lot of times people get blindsided. They're like looking one directionally at one problem instead of looking at it from all different angles, and then they realize they're like, oh my gosh, I'm way better off doing this thing because I get to touch all of these little things and be involved in all of these different projects than going over here and chasing this one thing. So why am I saying all that? Because you have to invest in yourself, and that means could be more time for you rather than spending more money. Okay? So number one is you have to invest in you. The caveat to this is you have to continue doing it until you see a change. So you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, and your income's not increasing, you're not getting more confident, you're not getting better, there's a problem with how you're learning, or there's a problem with how you're executing. Because when you learn new things, you should get better. It's crazy, like when I learn new things, I actually get excited. Like, do you get excited when you learn new things? Like when I hear something, no matter what it is, whether it's a business thing or something with nature and sharks or something, like, dude, I get excited. I'm like, wow. And then I like to tell people about it, like, so I look smart, like, man, did you know that this shrimp has an arm, and what they do to kill their prey is they shoot this arm out at him, and this arm fires out with the velocity of a .22 caliber bullet. You put your hand there, it's gonna blow your finger off. I forget the name of this crab, but there's a little shrimp, but there's a shrimp that does that.
It's a mantis shrimp.
A mantis shrimp, that's what it's called. So like I get excited when I learn new things. I read books that help me better understand how the process of a business should be, or how a marketing strategy would work, or something. Like it gets me more excited. So I promise you, if you're learning new things and you're not getting excited, if you're learning new things and you're not seeing an impact in your productivity, then something is wrong, either with the information or what you're doing with it, okay? Number two thing you invest in is your business. Whoa. How'd that happen? There we go. Okay? So for me, I start working for Grant. I'm buying programs. I'm buying books. I'm going to workshops. I'm investing time. I'm working 14 hours a day, plus I'm getting 2 or 3 more hours in of training and listening to programs while I'm at the gym, going to sleep, listening to Rules of Success. Like I'm complete like immersion. The next thing you need to do is as you start developing skills in a more meaningful at a more meaningful level that allow you to produce more, then you need to take that money and then you need to double down on your business. Now, if you own a business, as you produce more, you start selling more, you're selling more roofs, you're selling more pest control, you're building more pools, you're doing more chiropractic services or whatever. Like, as you start getting better at that and you start generating money, the next thing you need to do is you actually need to reinvest all that back in your business. Okay? 2 major investments are happening right here, and none of them are GameStop or AMC. Okay? So now you're putting money into your business. You're investing in more marketing. You're investing in people. When I started working for Grant, you're like, yeah, but Jared, you don't own a business. Yeah, but I treated what I did as a business within Grant's business. So what did that mean? Production got to a point where I was like, I can't service my customers and continue to sell at the levels that I'm at. So what did I do? I said, well, I could go to ask Grant for this, but this really ain't his problem. This is my problem I'm trying to solve. So I went out and I hired an assistant that I paid for out of my own pocket. And I was like, here's what I need you to do. There's all these administrative tasks that I have to get done that help me support my customers and let them know I'm thinking about them and help me stay connected and engaged with them. So I was paying her. She was going in. She was sending emails at me. She was making phone calls to the customers, checking in on them, finding out if I needed to do a sales meeting or something like that for them. It wasn't cheap, but it was worth it because it allowed me to produce a lot more. Right? For some of you, your employees, in some companies, and you want to grow your profile, then you start investing in a podcast, and you start doing a podcast, and then you start paying people to come on your podcast so that you get more audience and more reach and more interest in the thing that you're doing. You start creating more awareness. You get out of obscurity at a bigger level, and that creates more income for you. So you invest in you. Right? Until your production gets to the point where you're like, okay, I need to get to the next level now. Now you need to start going, okay, I need to invest in people, I need to invest in marketing, I need to invest in a facility, I need to invest in tools or resources or partnerships or consultants or education. Like I need to continue to invest so that I can build this business out. And then what happens is that business gets to the point where I've been investing, and then there is surplus from the business. That surplus is the thing that you activate the final step with, which is invest in assets. Then you start investing in assets. Then you start investing in Cardone Capital. Then you start investing in the stock market if that's your thing. Invest in you, invest in your business, and then invest in assets. So what do? I'm investing in me. I'm getting my production up. Now I'm like, I got to hire an assistant. Okay. I got to hire an assistant. I didn't know what you were doing. It's been a while since I've done this. So now I hire an assistant, and then now I've got this, now I'm really kind of jamming. And then I'm like, okay, well now I start hiring people into the business. I was like, okay, hire a sales guy, hire a customer service person. Now we start building out this client relations department, got another salesperson coming in. Now we got the company moving, right? And then after 18 months or 2 years, I think just under 2 years, I had $100,000 in the bank. And I said, okay, what do I do with this $100,000? My income's already, I had a book of business that was paying me every month, over and over and over again. I didn't have to sell a new deal. I was making $15,000 a month. I had this $100,000. I was like, what do I do with this? Grant, I have no idea. Nobody ever told me about money. My parents never had. They weren't wealthy. They never invested in real estate. They have a 401k because that's what everybody tells you need to do. What do I do with this? It was terrifying. I had this money. I'm like, the safest place for it's in the bank. But in the bank, it's not paying me. And that mindset is a thing that a lot of people have to crack, right? When you really start making money, when you're not oh, I've got this $5,000, I'm going to throw it over in Bitcoin or whatever. When you start getting a big chunk of money and you're like, what do I do with this? It's intimidating. Because then what happens when you decide what you want to do is now you actually have to give that money over. I remember that I wrote a $100,000 check to Grant. It was terrifying. And then I got $500 the next month. Like, I gave you $100,000 and I got 500 back. That doesn't sound like a very good deal. I think I want my 100 back. He's like, no, it's done. It's done. You won't see that money for a while. So I'm like, all right, well, if this real estate thing worked for him and he's got all this confidence in it and I have no idea what I'm doing, I don't trust myself yet, I just need to trust him. Trust the statistic. So then, another year passes by, I got another $100,000, I give him that. And then as I'm giving him that $100,000, he goes, oh yeah, by the way, that deal that we bought back there, market went up, property appreciated, I refinanced it. Here's $35,000 of your 100 back. You still own the deal, your cash flow doesn't change. And by the way, you don't owe any tax on that $35,000 I'm giving you back. I'm like, what? How does that work? And then we go 6 months more down the road. I'm getting ready to write another check for $75,000 or $100,000. And then the second deal that I put the money in, he goes, hey, by the way, here's $90,000 back of your 100 that you put in, and it was 6 months later. By the way, you don't have to pay tax on that. By the way, that deal's still gonna pay you. That second deal that I invested in paid me $3,100 last month. I've owned it for 8 years, and I've been distributed probably $500,000 from the $100,000 investment that I made. This was not a get rich quick. This was not a GameStop or a Bitcoin. This was the get rich for sure plan. So my point of this show today, before I go to some callers, because I know we got people on the phones and I'd love to talk to them. Just wait 1 second. I just want to close this out. My point of doing this is that there's a lot of people out there right now that you're seeing. They're like, oh man, I made all this money in Bitcoin, or I made all this money in AMC or GameStop. But like, where are all the people that you're like, dude, I got burned. I lost it all. Like, we always love hearing the story about the wins, but we seem to ignore all the people that are losing. This is a gamble. The short-term play is a gamble. The longest-term play, the most secure play that you have, the best bet that you can make is not a Wall Street bet. The best bet that you can make is in you. And that's why you got to load up on investing and educating yourself. You need to invest in your business, double down on the things that work, continue to grow and expand, and then use your surplus to invest in assets so that over time you get to a point where I am, where I'm like, man, I just kept the repetition of investing. I'd get extra money, I'd invest it, get extra money, I invested. Now the portfolio of deals that I own is worth $10 million. Like, that means at some point that 10 million's mine in the future. I can't even think with the 10 million right now, because it's not real to me. I've invested probably 3 million in cash, but that's what happens when you stick and stay and you play the long game. Like, then you get the guaranteed thing, not the roll of the dice thing. All right, callers, let's go to the callers.
All right, we got Canadian Jose from Canada.
Canadian Jose? Canadian Jose, what's up?
Hello, Jared. Hey, Jared. A pleasure to speak with you as always, my friend.
Likewise.
I'm so pumped to see Young Hustlers back.
We're back, man. We're back. And I appreciate, there's only one Canadian Jose that I know because he calls himself Canadian Jose. So it's good to have you back on the show, bro.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Jared, I actually wanted to call you and ask you some advice. I've heard both you and Grant speak of how when people reach out to companies, you know, the first thing you should always do is drop what you're doing and answer the phone, right? Mm-hmm. I'm actually in that line of business. I have an answering service. And I wanted to ask your opinion. What's the best way for me to communicate that to customers? Because when I call them, they don't always see that as an urgency. They think that customer's always just going to be there waiting for them. So I just wanted to pick your brain and see what.
So you got to tell me what you're doing again. What are you doing for work? You there? I don't hear.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, what are you doing for work? I missed like something, Ambien service or something like that.
Yeah, answering service. Sorry.
Answering service.
What I was asking was, you know, I heard you and Grant always talking about up the call, you're leaving money on the table, right?
Yep.
So I wanted to ask your opinion how I can communicate this to customers so that they understand the importance of this.
Communicate with data. There's companies that are way bigger than you that spent the money to go out and find out how much a live person answering the phone is worth to you, how much money you lose when you miss a phone call. Like there's massive phone companies who have big businesses that solve these problems. It's the gal's name that does the answering thing. Like it's a company, and it's like what's the company called? It's like Lucy or something like that, and it's like a big company that does answering service. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Ruby.
Ruby, yeah, Ruby. Ruby, Lucy. Yeah, so like I guarantee you there's a statistic out there. So just start Googling stats and make sure it comes from a credible source, because people will tend to believe a statistic more than your opinion. The more credible the source it comes from, the higher their belief will be in it. Appreciate the call, Canadian Jose.
All right,
good to hear from you, man. Next caller.
All right, we got Daniel from Tampa.
Daniel from Tampa. What's happening, brother? How are you?
Can you hear me, Jared?
I got you loud and clear, man. Good to have you on the show.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
What's your question?
Well, actually, I had a comment. I just wanted to say one of the things that really helped me, that you guys taught me, you and Grant, was to just commit to the decision. So I think when I first started in what I do, I was kind of on the fence about it, and I wasn't really committed, and I wasn't making sales. But then once I decided it was what I wanted to do, it just kind of, the sales started racking in.
Yeah, we whenever we talk about like new things, we're like, okay, there's 5 steps to do this. The first step is you have to commit. You have to make the decision. And people always kind of, they look at it as like a throwaway because it's really easy. They're like, commit. Okay, yeah, I'm committed. But like, what does commitment mean? And so for a lot of people, they commit to things, but they don't understand to commit to something new, you first have to give something up. You can't add something new without giving up something to make room for the new thing, right? And so I love that point, Daniel. I'm glad you brought it up, because just like with investing in all of these things, like you have to be committed. You have to be committed to the outcome. The outcome at the end of all of this, investing in assets, is hopefully you have some degree of wealth, right? So how committed are you to that? Are you committed to investing the assets you need to build the wealth? Are you committed to investing in your business to the degree that you have enough surplus to invest in assets? And are you willing to invest in yourself enough to develop the skills to grow your business, to develop the surplus income to invest in the assets? So commitment's the biggest thing that people miss. There's an abundance of great people. There's a lack of people that are truly committed. Like, you can be great without being committed. Lots of good people that aren't committed. So the big difference is commitment. So the big C word, man. Thanks for that, man. I appreciate the call into the show. Next caller.
We got Tim from Arlington, Texas.
Tim from Texas. What's going on, brother? Timmy.
How's it going?
What's up, brother? How are you?
Oh, good, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. I do appreciate it.
What's your question?
Man, so I do roofing, general contracting, and I'm down here in Texas. And I'm used to being more northeast. So the market down here is substantially different as far as getting your foot in the door, right? So my question was, being in a different market, what are some closing tactics that you would have for people that are more seasoned into getting hail damage to the roofs? They're used to contractors coming up to the door. What's the maybe 1 or 2 things that you would improvise with your pitch leading off? Because a lot of answers that I'm getting when I'm knocking on doors is, hey, my brother, my uncle, my cousin's a roofer, or hey, I know a guy, 3 people have already looked at it. Thanks for your time. So it's just it's a lot more competitive down here. I'm good at what I do. Mm-hmm. I mean, I usually do about 2-3 million a year in sales, and I've just I moved down here to be closer to my baby boy, and this market is just it's 100% different. So if you have any advice for me on maybe how to get my foot in the door, with people that are so seasoned and used to getting these kinds of pitches and calls, that'd be great, man.
Yeah, I mean, like you think you're in a different position, but like I could come up with a list of people that we sell to that have 500 people calling them to sell them stuff on a daily or weekly basis. Like the reality is that everybody's having a lot of people reach out to sell them stuff. Your competition isn't just the other roofing company, because the same person who has the hail damage on the roof has people calling them about cable services. They go to work and they have a bunch of people trying to sell them there. So like the thing that you need to do, number one, is you need to find out how to differentiate yourself from the rest of the competition. And that could be something as simple as the way you dress, additional resources that you bring to the door with you, like how you present yourself. Are you using technology? Like there's a lot of different little things are you dressed in a uniform or are you dressed in clothes? Like there's a lot of things that you can do like superficially to differentiate yourself. The next way to differentiate yourself is just to be great at what you do. And like being able to take anything that people say and use it. You knock on the door, hey, my name's Jared, I work with so-and-so. We've been working with the neighbors down the street, putting their roof back together. We did it to them at zero cost, out of pocket, and that money's going back to their, value their home, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, whatever. They go, I work with somebody else, my cousin, uncle, brother, sister, whatever, is already a roofer. Congratulations, that's amazing. Completely understand that you have a family member in the business. All I'd like to do, it sounds like you're all set, but all I'd like to do is provide you with a quote. That way you can decide, what's best for you. Either working with your brother or seeing my quote. Because you never know what that brother thing could be. That brother thing could be a complete smokescreen. So the best thing to do is just acknowledge it and then move past and try to go through to a presentation or a presentation.
Yeah, you're on point with that, man. That's exactly what what I've been hearing. It's down here, and that's what's so different. For me is more up north. I'm not used to hey, let me give you an estimate. It's more so we're just going to go ahead and work off of that scope sheet, of that insurance work and do it for that amount. Here, it's more so that estimate game, like you said. So being able to get your foot in the door and provide, them with a chance to, hey, just show your value. Like, hey, I can write up the same estimate they can, and I can do it better.
Yeah, like, another thing could be like, you could roll up to the door and you could go, hey, my name's Jared with Best Quality Roofing. Obviously we recently had a hailstorm that came through here. A lot of folks' roofs in the neighborhoods were damaged. Our company put together the 7 ways to fix your roof for free. And I'd like to give it to you. By the way, has anybody been out to check out your roof yet? So like you'd be leading with value. You'd be giving them something like, hey, look, my job, all I want to do is I'm meeting all the homeowners in the neighborhood, letting them know about my company and letting them know that in some cases, you may not even need to do any repairs to your roof, but there's a lot of roofers out here who will run around and tell you need a roof when you don't actually need one. Here's the 7 things that you need to be aware of so that you don't get charged for a roof or go after your insurance for a roof that doesn't even need to be fixed in the first place. By the way, has anybody been out to inspect the roof yet? Like that's one thing that you can add in that would be different than the 3 other people that have pitched them before.
I get you. No, that makes.
So, like, you're differentiating yourself in your appearance, the way you look. You're differentiating yourself in the words that you say. Dude, my advice to you would be get in Cardone University. If you're able, in July, on the 23rd through the 25th, we're doing a boot camp, a live 3-day boot camp where we're going to be talking about money, sales, marketing, growing your business, scaling your business out. It's our first live boot camp back. So we're super excited. There's going to be about 1,000 people there. Grant's going to be there all 3 days. Brandon Dawson will be there. I'll be there. Our team will be there. Sherry Hamilton, our COO, will be there talking. So it's going to be an amazing opportunity for you to get connected to some of this information that will help you do exactly what you need, which is develop remarkable sales skills. You can get a ticket for that, GrantCardoneBootcamp.com. It's GrantCardoneBootcamp.com. We got another caller?
Yes, sir. We got Charlie from Tennessee.
Charlie, what's going on, man? How are you?
Who's? got my money?
My man. I've been waiting for you to call.
Who's got my money?
Yeah, that's right. That's the battle cry right there.
If you got the money, honey, I've got the time, right? That old song.
I love it, man. I love it. How you doing, brother?
My name's Charlie Mitchell Jr. of East Tennessee. I'm with CMAGL.com. Man, I'm too blessed to be depressed if I feel like it's in heaven. I'll be honest with you. Can I share something with you just a minute?
Yeah, as long as it's a minute.
Okay, or less.
Yeah.
I've got to figure it out like this, guys. If I can help enough people to get what they want in life, I'll have everything that I need in my life. Am I on the right track?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a. I think that I think that sounds good. And the truth is, in companies, when you can invest in people and help develop people, that's a very valuable skill. But I think that in addition to helping people get what they want, you also have to know what you want, and you have to make sure that you're doing things every single day to get closer to the thing that you want. So basically, you're working two angles at the same time. You're like, I'm going to invest in people. I'm going to invest in connections. If there's anything that I could do, I'll give my shirt off my back to somebody if it'll help them out, because I know that that'll foster a relationship that could be meaningful outside of just a relationship in some financial way for me down the road. I think that's always a good strategy. But I also think that you don't put so much attention on that you neglect the fact that you're like, dude, I got to have a goal, I got to have a target, and I got to be doing things every single day to get that target. You guys should, every single day, you should, number one, every single person should know where they want to go and what they want to do with their life. What does their end game look like in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever it is for you. And then furthermore, you should know, reverse engineer that target all the way back to today to know, okay, this is what I need to do today in order to move towards that goal. It's one of the most important things you can do in your life, and very few people actually do it. So Charlie, I would say work both those angles. Invest in people, help people get what they want. If you help people win, you will get a win. That is a true saying. But you also need to be chasing after your win at the same time. Appreciate the call.
It's all about helping, though, and investing in one's knowledge. I mean, the knowledge is a key thing, and showing up. You've got to show up, got to invest in yourself, earn a return.
Who's got my money?
And, it all boils down to who's got my money. And I've got to figure that like this as well. If I'm not focused on getting money so much as I am helping people, my money's always going to be there. Help other people to get where they need to get first.
Yeah, and if that's the play you want to run, then I think that all you do is you increase your odds of getting there if while you're focused on other people's money, you're focused on yours too. Thanks for the call, brother. I appreciate you being here for the show. Guys, this is the first episode back in a while. We've had some amazing, crazy things happening in our business. Real estate deals happening all over the place. New partnerships happening. Buying businesses happening. A lot of things are going to be announced in the next couple weeks. So happy to be back here on Thursdays, noon East Coast Standard Time, where every single week on Young Hustlers, we're talking about what you can do to get your money right, get it tight, and do it in the shortest period of time possible. Thank you so much for being here. This is Jared Glam. We'll see you back here next week on another episode of Young Hustlers.